Hey, and welcome to Dr. G Speaks. I am Dr. Kristen Guillory, and I am so very excited to help you experience a life of freedom, faith, and fun you may not even realize is possible. Listen, I know you feel held back, I know you feel stuck, and I know you are hiding. As a coach and the author of Look, Stop Hiding, How to Find Your Voice and Never Dim Your Light Again, you will get to listen to some amazing stories, receive some homework, that's the professor in me, and get some tools to help you live the life you deserve. It's time to quiet the noise and walk in the fullness of who God created you to be. It's time to stop hiding and start thriving. Together, we'll uncover your potential and ignite your journey to a fulfilling life, a life of freedom. What up, y'all, and welcome to Dr. G Speaks. I am so excited to give you another peek behind the curtain. This is part 2 of a coaching call that I had with an amazing gentleman by the name of Jerrod Lockhart, who is a licensed clinical social worker working in Arkansas. He was so gracious to agree to allow you all to listen to some sensitive and personal points of his journey in hope that it may encourage you. And I was so proud and grateful that Jerrod was so open and transparent during this conversation about legacy, about things that are holding him down. So take a listen. I'm going to give you an and. Remember, I said the and meant
Okay, and
and. If a woman says things like, "Oh my gosh, I don't understand it, my nerves," add an and because I don't want you to
okay.
unintentionally dismiss her experience, right?
Yes,
You inviting her to say, "Be in his shoes," and she's like, "Well, I'm in my shoes right now."
that's
And
good.
that's not fair to me because this is my
It's
experience,
not. That's
right? And
right.
then for her, thank you for sharing. And I can imagine how frustrating that is. What I'm getting ready to say is not excusing his behavior, but to possibly explain it. He probably does not have the emotional tools that you have. And he probably was told not to cry
Mhm,
and not to be at a
mhm.
young age. Hear me, I'm not excusing him from being
Correct.
disrespectful. I'm giving you maybe framing of there's a chance he cannot do what it is you want him to do because he does not have the tools.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
Because
I
I've talked
love
to
that.
women the same, and I've just said a lot of women would send their husbands or sons. And I mean, I had a few who it was their Christmas gift. It was they gifted
Oh, I love that.
a ticket to
Yeah.
the event, a ticket and hotel to Texas, because where they were, they just said, "I know my husband is suffering. I know I can't do it all to have go to be in your space." And so that's what it is. And I've told women who were, I'm sending him. And after I learned a story from a particular person, I said, I had to tell you what happened to him. It seems like he kind of stopped emotionally processing and living
Mm,
at 21 when
mhm.
opportunity was taken from him. I don't know where that he did it. I'm not excusing him, but please remember, you're not his counselor. You don't have to save him. There has to be choice in his healing. He's
Mhm.
not choosing to take that step. You have the choice to leave and or you have the choice to stay and pray. So anyway, I'm just giving that to you because
I
it
love that. That's so good. That's so good.
yeah.
I love that reframing of that. That's helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you for being open to that.
No, I love that. That's so true. That's so true. So another I was encouraged to share something with you, and I'm gonna go there next if that's okay. So personally, I have been on this journey to complete my terminal degree. That has been something that I've been passionate about. The first attempt was post my master's degree because I got a specialist degree as well in college administration. So I just knew, okay, I'm going to go right in and get this doctorate in ed leadership. That's my trajectory. But I also kept hearing internally that was not the direction for me. So, anyways, I tried to power through that and spent all kinds of money, and I did not complete that. It ran out of time. It was essentially said, "Hey, the program has ended. You've not completed." Okay. So came to terms with that, and a lot of that was because that's not where you were supposed to be anyway, Jerrod. You were not supposed to be in this ed leadership program. So some time had passed and, married and kids and living in life and dealing with different things. So my wife and I agreed that I would go back and do it again, but I would do the program that I'm supposed to be doing. So I enrolled in an online program at Simmons University out of Boston, Massachusetts, doing a doctorate in social work, which aligned with all of my jams, all of my fields, all of my everything. So I was doing an assignment where I had to reach out to a couple of different individuals and kind of interview them. And so I'm kind of getting to the and statements. I'm getting there. And so I ended up interviewing a gentleman by the name of Dr. Martez Hammond. He is the Chief Diversity Officer at Purdue University, Indiana. I think that's right.
You wanna know what's interesting? I don't
Do you?
I don't know him well. I don't know him well.
Sure.
He's a mutual and we met virtually. Anyway, that's small
Sure,
world.
sure. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's one of my fraternity brothers. And so I emailed and asked if I can interview him for an assignment. And the assignment was, I think it was like a leadership assignment. And so I was kind of asking him some questions. And he challenged me with a statement, which is very similar to the and statement. He said, Jerrod, can you believe that two truths can exist at the same time? And I said, excuse me? He said, let me explain it to you. And so he went on this kind of narrative journey about being a diversity officer and what that felt like. And so coming in and you're asking these established individuals to change their way of thinking, operating, processing at the micro, macro, and meso level again of practice and work in this established institution of higher education. And so a lot of their feelings, he said, were very personal feelings from experiences, from how they internalize an interaction. And so one of the things he shared with me is was talking with this young lady and he said, that could be true. He said, I'm honoring that. But this can also be true here at the same time. So it's kind of merging these two truths. And then the conversation is how can these two things coexist in very healthy ways? So this and statement is very resonant of that for me. It takes these two beliefs and saying, hey, these two things can really exist at the same time. And so the conversation now becomes how do we kind of work so these two truths can coexist together, right? And that's where the work really comes in. So that's kind of the and statement. And so kind of going into kind of a personal thing with my doctoral degree. And so NLC cohort member from last year, Ian Buchanan, he and I are really good friends. And so he said, Jerrod, I want you to share with Dr. G where you are. He said, tell her where you are with school. And I was like, man, that's a sore spot for me. He said, but just tell her where you are. And I said, okay. He said, promise me. And I said, I promise. And I typically don't break promises. And so I'm sharing something with you that's very vulnerable for me. I'm going to do my best not to cry. Accomplishing that terminal degree, I think the first time too, not only was it not the program for me, my reasoning for behind completing the degree probably was a little selfish. I think I wanted it for a little credibility. I was trying to get my shine on, I'm Dr. Lockhart, that kind of thing. So all of kind of my reasonings for kind of getting this degree, was it really for life-changing fulfillment in the work, or was it just to kind of get your weight up? And so, processing all those things, I think that was part of it. In the business that I'm in the business of higher education, that's almost like the gold standard that you've arrived within the academy having that terminal degree. And so it has almost kind of been like the scarlet letter on me that I have not finished, right? Well, my wife and I agreed that we were going to kind of put some funds to place for me to go back to complete. I was very, very excited. Not only for that, but that I was doing the program that I knew aligned with where I wanted to go. This is my life's mission and work. This DSW, it aligns. I'm there. So started at Simmons. This was a self-pay program I was paying out of pocket. It's very costly, about $7,000 per quarter. There was a quarter system. It was 8 quarters from beginning to end to complete this degree. At quarter 5, I ran out of money. We were paying for it out of pocket and just life happened. We were facing some strong financial issues. My wife had gotten sick and kind of lost her job. So we were dealing with that. My son, just life, bills, eating, keeping lights on, all those kinds of things. And so completing that degree, it did not become, in my mind as a husband provider, it had just had to go down the list of priorities. My priorities was ensuring that my family had a place to live and lights and food and all that great stuff. And so at the end of the 5th term, I was left with, what are we going to do? My wife and I having that discussion. What are we going to do? Of course, just in full disclosure, had exhausted all of kind of the federal financial aid options that were available because, I went through that doctoral degree and shouldn't have been there anyway. That's a whole nother story. And so that's where I'm at. I still have 3 terms to go till I'm finished, but we really don't have a plan on how to pay for that. we don't know well, we don't know what options are available for us to cover that. Part of my NLC experience was to hopefully connect and network and identify some potential resources, sources to support funding, whether that was a grant or a fellowship or something to support those endeavors. And so it's so interesting because it lives with me, not necessarily in a bad way. I'm comfortable with the pause. I'm comfortable with explaining the pause. I'm not embarrassed by the pause. It's just the reality. And I think a lot of people connect with that and see that. And I wasn't always there, Dr. G. I'll be really honest with you. Not completing a thing was always a sign of failure for me. And I never failed at anything. Look, I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't a ladies' man, but I can do some school. That was my jam. That was my thing. I could do some school. And, I finished everything. I tried to be top of the class. In many ways, I was the top of the class. And a lot of that carried on from kind of the golden child syndrome that we talked about a little bit earlier. So I must admit that does live with me, that I'm not finished. I'm comfortable with the reason. I'm comfortable in even talking about the reason. But internally, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good that I don't have that. I hope that makes sense, that I don't have it. I don't know why he wanted me to tell you about that, but maybe he knows that that's part of my internal identity is an incompleter, and I struggle with that some over there. Maybe that's why my friend said you need to talk to Dr. You can talk to somebody about that. Maybe you need to talk to Dr. G about that. So, anyways,
You're not an
yeah,
incompleter. We reject that. You're not an incompleter.
yes, ma'am.
That is a whole title that is not you. And I want to encourage
Mm,
you to never say that again. You're not an incompleter. You said that you might not have been the best athlete, you might not have been the ladies' man, but you could do school and you still are and you still can. There's no part of that that's changed. The
mhm,
circumstance had nothing to do with your intellect. It's life.
mm,
Situation that they
mhm,
had to pause at
mhm.
quarter five had nothing to do with your intellect. It was life. Finances don't have nothing to do with your intellect. I mean, they do in other ways, but they don't have anything
Yeah.
to do with that. You're not an incompleter. And that right there, so the enemy knows our playbook. He
Mm.
knows
Ooh.
where to get you. He knows that you pride yourself in your intellect. You pride yourself in completing things. You pride yourself in your academics because your academics, okay, we're going to go there. Ian said it. He knows your academics became one of the only things you could control when you were younger, right? Reading this book, I can escape. Working
Mhm,
on the statistics and these form, I can
mhm,
escape. Going on around me, I don't understand what my brother's doing. I love it, but
mhm,
what are you doing? My
mhm,
mom, what are you doing? You don't know what
mhm,
you're doing. And
mhm.
I don't judge you, but I'm confused. I don't know what to do with these emotions. I'm feeling them all. But what I can control is my schooling.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to stay there. So you have been that person. You have been, boom, I finished up. Boom, I get it done. Oh, snap. The first time I don't finish and you absorbed it as an incompleter. That is not the
Mhm,
truth. So the statements of two truths, that's not the truth. That is a label you put on yourself, but it's not the truth. That is an incompleter is not even somebody's identity, but it's the person that starts 80 million things and they don't finish anything. That is not
mhm.
who you are. Life
Yes, ma'am.
got in the way. I'm gonna give you an example of as you were sharing, I thought of someone who also is in Arkansas who you might be able to relate to with this. This person is an expert in their profession. They are known in their profession and started a new business venture last year. Started this new business venture, did not close one deal the whole year. It was
Mhm.
very weird because I'm walking with this person a little
Right.
bit. And I was just like, okay, you know what's going on. And here's what they said. I got two in my head. There were all these learning curves. I said, sir, that is not what happened. That is not
Mhm,
what happened. You've been a prodigy in this field since 22. You've been
mhm,
doing this. You've been the golden child, golden ticket, had nothing to do with in your head. Nothing to do with learning curve. You want to know what it was? It was life happened for him and to him. A
mhm,
grandparent that raised him got really, really, really sick. His dad got really, really, really sick. Somebody
mhm.
else. So it was those things, and unintentionally, he was forgetting to include that. I'm
Right.
like, you keep trying to force this to happen. You, sir, you got life going on.
Yeah.
Dr. Lockhart. This don't have nothing to do with your
Mm.
intellect. That's staple. Life happened.
Yes,
Life
ma'am.
happened in a way that was
Yes, ma'am.
unexpected, and you tried everything. So for you, it's gonna be rejecting that incompleter. It is saying, "Okay, God, this pause happened for a reason."
Mhm.
And right, we know things can happen without God's permission unless we just
Right.
fully disobedient. So, okay, God is like, let me see if he's still gonna trust me. If he's still gonna lean in when I let the enemy plant the seed of anger. Let me see if
Mhm.
he's still gonna go on this path to fulfilling this dream, or is he gonna let this incomplete thought not only paralyze him, but make him forget who I created him to be? Make him forget his worth and all that he's done and starting all these great things in higher education at 22 and having the nerve to still see your brother holistically as a child. I'm gonna let the enemy see if he can get him to forget that and adopt
Yes.
phrases incompleter.
Mm.
This is not about a degree. This is about God. This is not about a degree. A friend of
Yes.
mine gave me that statement some years ago. I'll give you a little 20-second personal anecdote. There was somebody who entered my life probably 10 years ago. And I'm like, who is this? I didn't request this. I didn't ask for this. I didn't pray for this. What is this? And a friend of mine says, this is about God, not a guy. This is about God, not this person. Dr. Lockhart, this is about God, not a degree.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not about a degree. This is, are you going to trust him and seek him even when the timing looks different, even
Yes,
when the
ma'am.
situation looks different? That's what this is, because you can get the degree and go on and make something else an idol.
I received that. Thank you. I needed to hear that probably more than I realized. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for
I'm gonna
asking. Good.
I'm gonna sit with that. I'm gonna sit with that. I needed to hear that.
Sit with it. Add the and with it. And please don't judge yourself, right? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I called.
Mm.
That's where I was in the moment. It's been
Yeah.
hard. And I now have awareness. And you can call Ian and he'll say, I told you.
I told you. I'm gonna share this funny with you. So Ian has been, Ian was kind of my light into NLC. I saw his experiences and I was like, oh, this sounds really, really inviting. And he was sharing more with me. I got really stuck professionally, Dr. G, and I really had to come to terms. I was very frustrated in my last place of employment. And when I sat with it long enough, I realized the frustration wasn't with anybody, it was with myself. I stopped dreaming, I stopped believing, and I stopped trusting myself. I became very stagnant. This incompleter thing just was, living on me. And I asked God to help me. With tears in my eyes and just feeling very broken, I asked him to help me. And there's another woman in my life that I would love to connect you with someday. Her name is Dr. Sheila Lacey. She attended the church where we were all going and she asked me if she could pray for me. And I looked at her and I said, I don't know. I don't know. And she said, well, can I share with you what God gave me? And then I would like to pray for you. And so she shared with me some of the things I shared with you that I become very stuck. And this is why I was stuck in some other. And it was like she was reading the internal thoughts and things in my heart and in my mind that I never said to a soul. I cried like I was a newborn baby that stubbed his toe for the first time and didn't know what that pain was like. And when I got through, the Lord, in a very soft voice, said to me, live again, dream again. And so I began to just kind of write some things out that I wanted to do. Going back to school was that, getting that terminal degree was part of that story and some other things. And so I knew that I had outgrown where I was working. And that was the biggest challenge. It wasn't that they didn't see me. It was like the Lord, I said, no, they don't see you because you ain't supposed to be here. You're supposed to be seen somewhere else. And so that's what the challenge was for me. And I started applying places. I mean, anything that looked interesting to what I felt like fit my skill set, I was applying and I interviewed at a lot of different places. And I told the Lord, and this was the truth. I said, Lord, nothing has kind of worked out. I said, I've interviewed and I said, I'm okay with that. I said, if that means that you have me here, I'm okay with that. And so I was preparing to be in my institution, preparing for the next fall term. And one of my former students had moved to Fayetteville and was working at the U of A and sent this job and said, hey, I've already nominated you. I've already talked to the vice chancellor. And I said, I know the perfect person for this job. And the vice chancellor knew of me, very similar to Dr. Hammond's. Your relationship with Dr. Hammond said, talking of me was like, there is no way I know Jerrod. I know He's a legend. There's no way he's leaving. I say he is a fixture in that place. He said, no, 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 no. I bet he will. And so he called me. My now boss called me and said, hey, we have this position. Your name came up. Or would you seriously consider leaving? And I said, yes, sir. I'm looking. I know that there's more for me. He said, well, I want to send you this. He said, please look at it. And if I see your application, I know that you're serious. And I did. My wife and I prayed. I loved the opportunity and I went for it. And I'm here now. It's just a testament that I needed to shift and move. And this has caused me to feel some things that I hadn't felt in a long time, being new in a spot, learning new community again, being comfortable bringing self into a space that's somewhat established and making room for myself. Like you will see me, you will honor me. I will make my place here and feeling comfortable in my skin being there. And it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. And so I'm really excited about that. So bringing that back to Ian and where we were and why NLC, he told me about you. And he said, Jerrod, he said, get ready for Dr. G. And I said, well, what does that mean? Get ready for Dr. G. And so he was like, there's just something special about her. And I said, okay. I said, I'll keep it in the back of my mind. And so even leading up to you being with us a few weeks back, or I guess a week ago, he called me the night before. He said, you ready for Dr. G? And I said, yes, I'm ready for, whatever's going to happen. He said, take your towel. And I was like, I don't need to take a towel. I'm going to be okay. I don't need a towel. He said, trust me, take a towel. And I said, no, I don't need no towel. It'll be okay. He was right. I needed a towel. But I will tell you as we conclude our time, thank you for allowing yourself to be and giving us you. I've been looking forward to this session all week. I kept telling my wife, I got to meet with Dr. G. 9:45 in the morning. I got to meet with Dr. G. Got to meet with Dr. G. Because I was looking forward to us just having this conversation. And so thank you. Thank you for the gift that you are to the world. And I appreciate you. And I know that being this gift to the world did not come easy. It did not happen by osmosis. I know it was work. And I appreciate you doing the work because we are the benefactors of your work. And thank you.
You and Ian are definitely friends because
Mhm.
both of y'all all had beautiful words to share, and I received them. And it is an honor to support you all in this way and support others. And you're right, there's a lot of work behind it.
Yeah.
The surrendering and healing and
Mhm,
questioning,
mhm,
isolation and doubting self,
mhm,
all that
mhm.
is worth it. I'll say
Mm.
something I wish I hadn't done the journey so much on my own in the beginning.
Yeah,
Like I do. I
yeah.
wish I would have just admitted, like, I'm struggling and that I don't have to be superwoman. Oh, nobody told me I
Yeah.
had to be. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate your posture of openness, your posture of encouragement, and your desire to help everybody in the way that you want to help. And know that helping, there's a quote my sister learned from somebody, which is doing nothing doesn't mean nothing is happening. So
Mhm,
you have the right to just like you did yesterday, supported your wife and work. There's another
mhm,
day you may not really even do anything. Because one of the
mhm,
best examples that you can give to these boys, to these men, to the women, to the people on campus is to embody what it is you want to teach them. Like
mhm,
literally, you are,
mhm.
as people say, you may be the only Bible somebody ever sees. You may be
Yeah,
the only black healed man who is open with emotions. And that is what it is. I said it to you all. I had never even met her, but she saw a video clip of me that I spoke at an event talking about set your life up as a vacation. That resonated
mhm,
with her because I wasn't
mhm.
telling people to do it. I was speaking my truth. And so
Yeah,
for you to do that, and I want to point out real quick, I want to give you a comparison to you calling yourself incomplete or that you will never say again to the job that came. Okay. So you
yes, ma'am.
began to realize and understand this current job is not where I need to be anymore. And I don't know what that is. And you didn't know you did, but you
Yes,
allowed it to happen. You allowed just conversations and Dr. Hammond's called and other people and your
mhm,
current boss called. That is what I truly believe that when we are open, we don't have to force anything to happen. It fell in your lap in a sense. You moved in the direction. There has to be some choice in it. There has to be
mhm,
some, I'm uncomfortable in this job and I'm going to choose to be open to leaving. Same with your degree and completing this, it's the work, yes, work, but it's not hard. That's not what it is. I believe that God
yeah,
was like, are you trusting me fully to
yeah,
bring you the
yeah,
pieces? Are you trusting me? And as you were talking, I'm gonna tell you what came to my mind as you were talking, to use Chat GPT and say, hey, Chat, this is part of my story. I am a Black man working on a doctorate in social work. Here's the background. I want to help boys. I want to help men. I want to do this. I want to do this. I have not been able to complete the last 3 semesters of this because finances, were no longer available. Can you provide 20 different suggestions of how to get the money for this? And suggestions can include scholarships, GTAs, foundations, grants, and more. Put that in there because
Yes, ma'am.
there is money out there. And the school may say, you know what? We'll waive it. You know
Yeah.
what? We'll waive it. And I think you should have a conversation with the school. I think you should have a conversation and tell them your goals and desires and find out, do y'all have any fellowship opportunities or full-time opportunities where I can be a virtual TA?
I will do that. I will do that.
You will do that. Your affirmation for the week. You're not an incompleter. You're not an incompleter. Thank you so much for listening to the Dr. G Speaks podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.